Chapter 84 A Tremendous Battle. Earlier, Han Li was afraid that the Broken Water sect's disciples would escape and alert the other enemies, so he had to personally get involved. Using shifting smoke steps and Imperial flight technique in unison, he easily killed all the enemies in a short span of time. Li Feiyu, who was thinking of continuing his attack, was dumbstruck. Only then did he realize Han Li's true strength. After recovering from his dazed state, Li Feiyu was shocked that Han Li was able to possess such astonishing skill. Han Li's battle prowess was a result of cultivating blinking sword art. This kind of thinking caused him to panic the moment he stepped up into the arena and immediately disturbed his own inner strength, wishing he had cultivated in the blinking sword art. Luckily, he knew the bitter truth: regardless of time or aptitude, it was too late for him to switch to a different sword art. Further down the road, Li Feiyu continuously threw up his heart's grief and sighed heavily at the lucky bastard, Han Li, for being able to learn such a terrifying skill. Han Li was not in the mood to comprehend his good friend's sour mood. Instead, he started to ruthlessly kill all the enemies he met, intending to reveal his true strength. All the enemies that encountered Han Li's strange technique were neither able to withstand nor receive a single blow. They all breathed their last breath of air, and even the high-ranked experts were no exception. With Han Li's exhibition of might, the two of them easily reached Elder Li's residence and saw Ma Rong. They received news from Ma Rong that Elder Li and Zhang Shuer had already ascended Setting Sun Summit. Upon hearing this grievous news, Li Feiyu's face turned green. He knew that the current Setting Sun Summit was an extremely dangerous place. Zhang Shuer entering that area was like setting a foot into the gates of hell. With the lack of a better option, the two of them discussed for a moment and came out of Elder Li's residence, hurriedly heading towards the direction of Setting Sun Summit. But upon their departure, there was a minor disturbance. When the two of them were about to leave, that loathsome fatty, the trusted aide of sect leader Wang, took out the command medallion and ordered them threateningly to stay behind, or else he would deal with them according to sect's rules. Currently, Li Feiyu was very impatient as he was only concerned with Zhang Shuer's safety. He could care less about the sect rules, so he extended his hand and knocked the long-winded fatty unconscious to the ground. Then, he ordered his subordinates to continue protecting everyone while he and Han Li turned and left quickly. When they reached the vicinity of Setting Sun Summit, the two of them were frightened by the sheer numbers of enemies. Knowing that it was impossible to charge forward, Han Li and Li Feiyu discussed with each other and came up with a brilliant plan. They knocked out two disciples of Broken Water sect and changed into their clothes. Then, they took advantage of the dark sky and the crowd's confusion to stealthily mix in with those who were about to attack the mountain, follow the stream of traffic, and easily reach Setting Sun Summit. There, Han Li and Li Feiyu had heard everything that sect leader Wang had said. Because Crooked Soul's body was too conspicuous, they found an area at the bottom of the mountain in which they could hide him and left him there. After hearing that the Setting Sun Summit had kept such a deadly trump card that enabled it to perish with its enemies, Li Feiyu could not conceal his doubts and started to repeatedly ask Han Li, hoping that his good friend might set his heart at ease. Regardless whether this is true or fake, the most important thing to us right now is to quickly enter the main hall and meet with your young beloved and secretly slip away. You must be aware that regardless whether the information is authentic or not, staying here is too dangerous. Han Li finally replied in a low voice. This is all true, but under the watchful eye of the crowd, how it is possible to go in secretly? Li Feiyu asked, with a worried look on his face as he lowered his head. Sigh. We can only wait and see if any opportunities arise later on. Han Li was also feeling quite helpless. Just as the two of them hiding at the back of the crowd started to get agitated, the ground beneath their feet suddenly trembled. At first, it was just a slight tremor, but subsequently, it became quite violent. A lot of people were unable to stand and began to tumble one by one onto the ground. Following the summit's trembling, there were also several mountain boulders that began to roll down. Not good. The mountain peak is about to collapse. That surnamed Wang wants to bring us down along with him. Some reckless person within the group shouted in a panic. When people heard this, the majority of them became even more panic-stricken. Some even disregarded previous Wang Juchu's warning and frantically tried to escape towards the road's intersection in an attempt to flee the mountain peak that they believed was about to collapse. Boom! A rumble of explosions rang out as the surrounding area started to collapse. The ground also shook more intensely. Hearing the loud noises, everyone thought that this was the start of the collapse of the mountain peak and couldn't help but to give up all hope. At this moment, Jia Tianlong was alarmed and furious. Even though he was escorted by the loyal Iron Guards, he was at a loss in his heart, unsure of what to do. He couldn't help but to look towards Monk Golden Light. Jia Tianlong smiled wryly after he clearly saw the look of panic on Monk Golden Light's face. So this person was also unable to protect himself. Jia Tianlong's initial admiration for this figure was immediately reduced. And here I thought people from Feral Wolf Gang were all fearless heroes. Turns out you are all a mob. At this moment, Wang Juohan suddenly ridiculed. Despite the confusion at the summit, Wang Juohan's words transmitted to everyone's ears, clearly caused by pure skill. Following his words, the ground miraculously stopped trembling. It was as if the mountain peak had suppressed its anger in a split second, recovering its former tranquility. At this moment, the crowd discovered that the small stone hall had disappeared without a trace, leaving behind an astonishingly large hole. A few courageous people took 2 paces forward and looked down from the edge. They couldn't help but gasp at the sight of the large, pitch-black hole. Since it was impossible to see the bottom of the hole, they knew that its depth was unfathomable. Commander Jia, can this evidence be considered proof of what I have to say? Wang Juohan coldly asked. Jia Tianlong's face paled slightly. He did not reply immediately. Instead, he surveyed his surroundings. Only to see that everyone beside him had panicked and uncertain looks on their faces. In addition to the ordinary gang members and other gangs members, even the Iron Guards by his side had unsightly looks. Looking back, Jia Tianlong understood that he would be unable to accomplish his goal of completely annihilating 7 mysterious sects within a single night. It seemed that he needed to retreat first and consider the matter carefully once more before making a decision. Whatever conditions you have, you can state them, but you should be well aware of the situation. Even though it's like this, we are both tied, so don't go overboard, he exclaimed, not willing to accept the current outcome. As he turned his head around, there was a slight hint of extreme fury within his words.